There's a man in Indiana named Jerome Scott, and he was sentenced to 18 months probation for felony distribution charges after police found 150 marijuana plants at his home when they were investigating for a robbery. So here's where the story gets really interesting. He's moving with his wife to Michigan to legally grow medical marijuana, and he has a permit for that. And on top of that, he's also a Rastafarian. So he said, quote, "Cultivating my own cannabis is my way of not contributing to the black market and drug dealing tactics. In my natural state, I don't believe I'm breaking any law. I know I'm not harming anyone or causing any harm to the community." So Scott pleaded guilty to one Class D felony count of possession, which means his license will not be renewed next year to grow marijuana legally, which means that his only source of income now is gone. And he also says that he now lost a key aspect of his faith because he actually is a Rastafarian. This isn't just somebody saying that so that they could smoke weed. He truly believes. So now he's essentially making the Hobby Lobby argument. He's saying, why would you be able to take this away from me? This is my religious freedom.
It's an open and shut case. I'm sure Scalia would agree. I'm sure all the conservatives would agree, right? So now look, you can say, hey, Cenk, Kyle, we don't agree with you guys on legalizing marijuana. We don't think there should be medicinal marijuana in Michigan. And he was caught in Indiana, so his permit in Michigan, although perfectly legal in that state, does not apply to Indiana. Okay, those are all interesting and fair points. But Hobby Lobby told us that if you have a religious objection, you don't have to follow the rules that everybody else has to follow. You just have to have a legitimate religious objection. And Rastafarian is a religion that's been around a long time. Smoking weed is part of the religion, okay? It is, okay? I'm thinking of converting. But in reality, that is his religion. I mean, it's inarguable. It's inarguable. I can't wait for Scalia to set him free.
Yeah.
So in Hobby Lobby, they say, well, look, I mean, good Christians, you know, if they want to not serve gays, you got a religious objection, you know what I'm saying, right? But this guy, I mean, Rastafarian, does that really count? Yeah, the Constitution says that you can be any religion you like and that you're not going to discriminate against any religion. They've got to set him free. They've got to.
What's so amazing about the Hobby Lobby decision is that if you read Scalia's take on it, he very clearly admits that he's a hypocrite because he says, I'm only going to apply this kind of reasoning to employers taking away birth control from their employees. And he's very specific. And Ginsburg basically responded and said, dude, you're an idiot. You can't do that. Because it doesn't make sense to say, okay, you're allowed religious liberty, but only when I say you're allowed religious liberty, and oh, look, it only applies to the areas where my political beliefs say it can apply. But let's go further here, because just this idea of religious liberty in general, I honestly think it's a little ridiculous, because you only have religious liberty insofar as you're not violating rational secular laws. So for example, do you have does your religious liberty mean that you can tell your employees, I don't believe in vaccination, so you can't get vaccinated? Or can you say something like, you know, because of my religion, I get to sacrifice a goat every day on my front lawn. Well, I get to sacrifice a human. There are religions that have existed throughout history that truly believe in human sacrifice.
Well, the goat was kind of badass, but you lost me on the humans.
But see, the bigger point here is, I don't think that this guy should be able to smoke weed because it's his religion. I think this guy should be able to smoke weed because you should be able to smoke weed.
Right. Well, so here's my take on that. Of course, I agree with that, and legalize it. Go weed. But you've got to be consistent. You've got to be at least internally consistent, or let's all agree. I mean, national press covering this, everybody covering this. From now on, Scalia, Roberts, Alito, Thomas, all these guys, if they don't free Jerome Scott, they're the world's largest hypocrites. They don't mean religious freedom. They mean only for Christians, only our religion, right? Now, look, Jerome's actually out on probation, so he's not physically in a jail cell now, which actually kind of makes him lucky in some sense, because there's a lot of guys, some guys serving life sentences for smoking marijuana, right? But he does have felony on his record now, and that's why he can't do the business that he was going to do in Michigan, as Kyle told you. So let's do free Jerome Scott t-shirts, right?
I'm all for it.
Yeah, and if you're not going to do that, well then go ahead and piss off with your Hobby Lobby, okay? then you don't get to go around telling me, oh, I got a religious objection to gay people. You can't have both. It's got to be one or the other.